Hey TSG, this is Ben. We're going to talk, this is day 3 of our discussion on the Krump. Today we're going to talk about a few other applications of the Krump and ways to use it against the ox, and as well as getting into the Zettel. So let's think about this real quick. So the last 2 videos we talked about the nimble version of the crooked cut, where you might be slapping, cutting to the hands, whether those hands are an ox or they're in the middle of a cut. And then the second video we talked about crumping to the flat, so particularly just a defensive action to deflect. And today we're going to talk about some extra add-ons from those 2 things from the first 2 days. So first of all, what we're going to do is go into a crump to the flat version that we see in Codex Wallerstein, where you use the crump to the flat to get into a position where you put the short edge on their neck and pull them to the ground. This is very similar to the throw, which we'll discuss later on in the therein section, where we're talking about one of the follow-up actions after you've done that short edge therein cut is to move into placing the short edge on their neck to move into a grapple. So we're going to start with that. In Wallerstein, you see this moving into this from a crump-like position. So in Wallerstein, you are cutting with those crossed arms on their blade to displace them out of the center line. So they may be here extended, or they may be doing something else where they're kind of creating threat on you, and or cutting, and you are displacing that cut out with that crossed arm position. One of the possible follow-ups from that is for me to come that blade back up and place it on their neck. I'm coming here and I'm placing that blade back up on their neck. What I've just done is I've pushed him offline enough that now I have access to his upper right quarter, and I can bring my sword back up into that upper right quarter. And our action after that point is to move close so that I can place my right foot behind their right foot. I know this is hard to imagine without a partner, being in quarantine and all that. And then from that position, we can pull them backwards and back over the right foot. For those of you who've done Wallerstein wrestling, this is like the 6th horizontal stance, I believe, where you reach up and grab the ear or side of the face and basically cross-face them off the side while you push one foot on the side and pull them down over it. This often doesn't work with gear on, because people are like, I got a sword on my mask, I can't hardly feel it. When you have a sword or a hand on your ear or a sword on your face, pushing your face in this direction, your face is going to go in that direction. Again, on tournament or on other things, this is a lot harder to pull off with all the gear sometimes, if that's what you're wearing. So here's what we're doing with this. So we are going to go in any kind of a position here, and we're going to start with trying to sweep that sword offline a bit with our cross. Foot or no foot, I don't know. I don't think it matters, right? I like to do is sweep and then step, I think, to kind of clear that space. So I'm just clearing that center guard a little bit, and then stepping with it, and then coming back up to place my blade on their neck. So I end up going boom, step, boom, step, back up to their neck, ear, crump, step, ear, crump, step, ear. The next is to get my feet close enough that I can do that throw. That's going to depend upon where they move, right? If they're moving towards you as this happens, it makes it really easy. So I can basically do crump, step, ear, and then just shuffle step to get my foot behind their foot and pull them backwards over that position. So it ends up being crump, step, ear, shuffle step, pull them down. If they're giving you more space for whatever reason, you may need to do a more aggressive step or a leap with it. So it may be crump, step, or you could gather, or if you want to be fancy, into that leap, so that you're getting a little bit more action to it. So it ends up being crump, step, pull back down. If you want to particularly modify this for gear, as you're kind of pulling back, the text seems to indicate that you're pulling back with both hands in a longsword position. You can shorten your sword and pull that position down if you want to kind of leverage them down. That works against people who have masks on. Probably is, you don't see that, I don't think, in this particular sequence. So crump, step, ear, and then if you want, lever them down. Switch this way. And I like to do this crump again, as everything with TSG, getting closer is important. So that initial step is so important. So I'm doing initial step, crump, initial step, crump, to close that distance a little bit. This is allowing me to take those 2 steps and really close that distance. Right? Step, Krump, step. And then back to here. Step here. And then down the ground. And don't cut your leg off. Step, Krump, step here. Down the ground. Alright. That's the first thing. Let's get into another little nuance of this. I talked briefly in the very first video about moving into shrunk hood in a way that looks lazy, right? You're kind of like here. Or if I'm in this position, I'm like into here. The context of the Krump, in one particular context that seems to be laid out, is using the Krump as an invitation. So I'm creating what looks like an opening, giving them a chance to kind of come at me and do something at me. So you have to make that look like an invitation that doesn't look like I'm about ready to Krump the hell out of you. So this means I'm going to Krump the hell out of you. Nobody's going to take that invitation, right? But this looks lazy, right? So to me, that's kind of a subtle difference. Same with this. Flug, I love my flug. Just kind of passing like I'm being lazy out to the side like this. Looks lazy. It looks like I'm stepping. I'm not even stepping that far into range, really. So my foot here, I'm stepping to here and kind of switching positions. So I'm not really committing myself that much, but it really looks like it. So I end up being like this. And the tip comes offline, and then I've got that step. So it's much easier, I think, in that way to kind of give that invitation with it. So I end up coming here, giving that invitation. I'm not waiting for them to start. It's very hard if I give that invitation from too close a range to defend for real. And if I'm way far out of range and I give that invitation, it doesn't look like an invitation. It looks like me just being lazy out of range. I have to get at that sweet spot where they feel like they can actually hit me, but they have to work to hit me. And that's kind of where I want to be. They're like, this is worth it? Is it worth me committing to just trying to hit the guy? And then hopefully they're saying yes because I'm looking lazy, right? Hopefully they don't know you as a fighter. But yeah, so if you're kind of looking lazy, looking like you're kind of dropping out with it, like if you're just kind of transitioning, then it helps with it. And then for me, again, I don't like waiting for them to attack. I think that puts you too much in a response mode of mind. So what I'm doing is I'm just creating that invitation, just a moment to pause, and then whether they go or not, I'm still going to Krump, right? If I Krump and they do nothing, it doesn't matter. I'm out of range. I'm clearing the center line. I'm immediately moving back in to create a threat. I'm not overly committing myself. It's a very low risk action if they do absolutely nothing. It just looks like a transition. So I'm going to kind of be, I want to get into this. So maybe I'm here and I just drop lazily in, I kind of step and drop lazily, and I'm in this kind of position. I'm going to kind of do it for just a stutter second, Krump, and keep moving. So it ends up being just a part of the sequence if they do nothing, right? I'm kind of just doing this. And I'm still kind of moving with them. Again, I like to move. This is partially why this is all Liechtenauer, the Gospel of Ben. This is my interpretation of how I make it work. So keeping those feet moving, it really just kind of looks like your continual flow. So you're kind of doing your thing, right? You're up, and you're doing the Krump action with it, but giving that invitation and hoping they take it still, right? So you kind of, if they do try to take it, you're already you're already moving into that Krump action, so you're already a step ahead. So, last thing, we're going to talk about getting into the Kurzhau, the shortcut, and we're particularly going to talk about, I think, the context for that. Though, to be honest, I think maybe we've done enough for today, so I'm going to go ahead and stop it here, and I will do another video next time for us to kind of focus on that Kurzhau. Thanks, guys.